Hello, and welcome to a Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness video, where today we will be tackling the game with the Sceptile line. Now, this is currently the third in a three-part series, going over the Hoenn starters, and I think Sceptile isn't going to do nearly as well as the other two, simply because in this game, the grass type is pretty bad. There's a lot of Pokemon that just resist your attacks quadruply, and then on top of that, you take a lot of damage from a lot of different Pokemon. So it can be really hard for a grass type to do well. But with that being said, I think Sceptile does have an edge over many other grass types, but we'll get into that in just a moment. Anyway, Treecko has 40 HP, 45 attack, 35 defense, 65 special attack, 55 special defense, and 70 speed, and gets access to a lot of normal grass type moves, as well as a few fighting, dark, and ground type moves. So I could see it doing fairly decently on type coverage, but the main thing that the Treecko line has over many other grass types is an actually decent stab grass type option in Leaf Blade that's 70 base power and has a higher critical hit rate. So let's go ahead and move right along to our Treecko, which has a hasty nature, raising its speed and lowering its defense. Now this might possibly be the worst nature I could have gotten, because Treecko has a very low defense stat and a really high speed stat, so I'm going to be losing to a lot more physical moves than I think I need to be. So that's not great, but hopefully it doesn't make that big a difference. For its ability, it has Overgrow, which raises its grass type moves when it's at low health. And according to Bulbapedia, these are the three moves it gets by level 10, Pound, Leer, and Absorb. So let's go ahead and get right into it. And the first thing we need to do is get the move Bullet Seed, which is just going to be its best stab grass option at this moment. And then a little bit later we get access to the move Quick Attack, which I'm going to teach over Pound because they're basically the same move, but Quick Attack's better. And then I just want to show off this fight in particular. Usually I'd show off the trainer after this, but I actually did super well on the trainer after this. It was this trainer here that was giving me the most amount of issue, and that's because they both can hurt me with big damage, as you can see. And so I actually had to level up a few times just to get past this point. And at level 15, I just scraped by, because it decides to start attacking the Teddiursa instead of the Treecko. And then it uses Leer, and I actually take it down. So yeah, that one was the only hard fight, really. And a little while after that, I get the move Pursuit, which I'm going to teach over Leer. And Pursuit we're going to have for a long while, because it's the best option for Shedinja later in the game. And at level 16, it also evolves into Grovyle. And Grovyle's pretty cool. Hello, Grovyle. Don't steal my time gears. Anyway, at the same level it also learns Fury Cutter, which I'm going to reject because Fury Cutter is a bad move. And with a new evolution means new stats. So, Grovyle has 50 HP, 65 attack, 45 defense, 85 special attack, 65 special defense, and 95 speed. And that's pretty good, I'd say, overall. It's going to be doing quite a bit of damage, and it's going to outspeed most everything. Unfortunately, it's not going to take hits very well, though. So I could see that being an issue later on. But for now, it's pretty good. Anyway, right after that talk about how pretty good it is, it ends up losing this fight. So yeah, as it turns out, even with super effective damage, Bullet Seed is pretty bad. Anyway, I just wanted to say, if you are enjoying this video, consider liking this video, and we're coming into October, and I'm trying to decide what the best Pokemon to do for this spooky month would be. There is obviously the Gengar line, which could be good, or the Misdreavus or Duskull Pokemon, but I don't know. Put some Pokemon suggestions down below. I'll see about getting a few scary Pokemon out this season. And yeah. Anyway, with that, we are now able to go into the building. And after losing to this trainer, I think twice, I finally get the move Leaf Blade at level 29, which I'm going to teach over Bullet Seed because it's just better all around. And we have our first fight against Lavrina. Now she leads with a Love Disc and a Beautifly, and unfortunately I do need to take down the Beautifly because it's going to use Gust and do way more damage than I think it need to. Out comes Roselia, and because I'm a pure Grass type, it's not actually going to go for Leech Seed, it's going to go for Pin Missile, and do quite a bit of damage with it, as you can see here, especially when it gets 5 shots. I go for Absorb to heal up and take down the Love Disc at the same time, and then out comes her final Pokemon, which is a Shadow Delcatty, and Roselia got 2 crits in a row. Okay, well, I can see a very easy way to get around this. It just will take a little bit of luck, and that's teaching Mimic over Quick Attack here. And I'm going to use that to steal Gust from Beautifly. So I go for Pursuit, Tackle comes out, uses Gust, and now I use Mimic to steal Gust, which should now one-shot the Roselia. Another Gust. The only problem with this strategy is it takes me very low to even set it up, but luckily I can actually just heal help from the Love Disc and get up to about half, so it's not terrible. And then out comes the Delcatty, and I do just need to get lucky on the Pin Missiles, because Roselia is really the only threat here. I don't think Delcatty can do that much damage. Let's see. Okay, it does a little bit, but not as much as the Roselia was doing, and I take her down 3rd attempt. Anyway, we move along to the obligatory Mirror Bee. Hello, Mirror Bee. Schmoovin' as always. And then soon after that, we actually evolve into Sceptile. Now, Sceptile is... well, actually, I don't really know. I've never used a Sceptile, nor considered it, so... hi, Sceptile. Anyway, with a new evolution, means new stats, and Sceptile has 70 HP, 85 attack, 65 defense, 105 special attack, 85 special defense, and 120 speed. So it's even faster and a bit stronger, but it's still not going to take those physical hits at all, and it's only got 70 HP, so it's not really going to take any hit well. So hopefully that doesn't come back to hurt us too much, but for now we can only persevere. At the Realgam Tower, I go through and I pick up my 2 favorite TMs, Hidden Power and Protect, and I'm going to teach Hidden Power right away, and I find that it is Hidden Power Psychic. Which is okay, honestly, it hits the poison types I'm weak to. So we go on to Snaddle, who I think isn't going to be too big of a threat because I outspeed everything. Even with the amount of Rock Tombs to lower my speed, it's not going to be an issue, and he's very weak to Grass, actually, other than his final Pokemon. So I'm able to take down his first 2 with just Leaf Blades. I take down his Cast Form with Leaf Blade. Out comes Matang. And Matang's really the only threat in this battle because it takes 2 hits. I get a Metal Claw, which doesn't really do that much. I go for Absorb here just to heal up on the Quagsire in case the Matang actually got an attack boost or a crit, which it does, but I'm able to take it down. And that was Snaddle first try. Now before the next fight, I decide to teach Protect, and that's because I don't want to get paralyzed on the first turn. And we go into the fight against Gonzap. Now, I would like to preface this battle saying this is currently the 3rd attempt. The first attempt I came in with about half health and lost pretty quickly, and the second attempt I got paralyzed right off the bat. So I go for Hidden Powers to take down the Electrode. It's slower, but it's more safe when it comes to not getting paralyzed. Anyway, a Hidden Power takes down the Vileplume. Out comes Whiscash. Nuzleaf uses Hyper Beam, not really doing too much. I take down the Whiscash pretty easily. And this was the other thing that was really difficult, was the Skarmory, because it has Aerial Ace and does quite a bit of damage to me. And Leaf Blade only does about 1/3. So another Hyper Beam. I go for another Leaf Blade. Aerial Ace takes me down very low. I go for a Protect here to heal up some. And now the Nuzleaf is going to start going for Aerial Ace. I'm able to take down the Skarmory. Aerial Ace takes me very low, but I'm able to take down the Nuzleaf right after, and beat Gonzap on the 3rd attempt. At the top of the tower, I get the move Earthquake, which I'm also going to teach over Pursuit now that I've beaten the Shedinja right below me. And we move on to Gorgon. Now, Gorgon's whole strategy centers around Earthquake, and luckily I have Earthquake as well now. And his water-type Earthquake Pokemon are weak to grass, so I'm able to take them down fairly easily as well. And then out comes Ursaring, which I know I can't one-shot, but I can at least do a pretty good amount of damage to it. Out comes his Shadow Primeape. It goes for Slash, doing not too much damage. Another Earthquake nearly takes down the Primeape, but not quite. Hypno comes out, and this could definitely do a bit of damage to me. So I go for another Earthquake, take down the Primeape. Hypno's not quite a one-shot either. Shadow Storm takes me down to about half, but Leaf Blade finishes him off first try. Okay, so at this point, Treecko's not actually doing too bad. It's on pace to be like an A tier Pokemon, maybe lower A. So let's go ahead and continue into the game and hope that it keeps that pace. So I go for Leaf Blade because Gorbis is the only one that's opposite my gender and I don't want to get attracted. And then I use Protect here just to heal up a bit. And then I go for Earthquake, which does one-shot Gardevoir and one-shots Roselia. And I do not learn False Swipe because I want to actually destroy my opponents, not bring them down to 1 HP. I go for another Earthquake because I was clicking through menus too fast. And because of that, I get confused. And I go for Leaf Blade, not quite a one-shot on the Farfetch'd. And the Shadow Breaks are doing quite a bit of damage to me. I go for another Leaf Blade. And I haven't gotten hit by myself just yet, but I am getting fairly low. And I go for Hidden Power here, which does about a third. But unfortunately it's not enough and I get taken down. So I come back into this fight once again. And it's basically the same start. Go for Leaf Blade, take it down. Except this time I'm actually just going to take down the Gardevoir. Because it's a safer bet to... Okay, well Gardevoir's not quite a one-shot, I guess. But it's a safer bet to take the birds on one at a time, because they're not nearly as dangerous if they're not together. And the Roselia here is still just going to use Pin Missile, but at this point in the game it's really weak, so it's not that big of a threat. Shadow Panic actually misses, which is nice. I go for another Protect here, just to heal up before the Altaria comes out. And take down the Farfetch'd. Out comes Altaria. Pin Missile again. And I go for another Protect, just to heal up a little bit more. And now I decide to take down the Roselia. And now it's just the Altaria left. Shadow Break is doing about a third. Go for another Protect. And as you can see, I'm actually taking this battle very slow and very carefully. And that's because I really don't want to lose here. After that first loss of clicking through menus too quick, I'm just being cautious now. Anyway, second attempt Lavrina, not bad. So we move on to Snaddle. At the top of the mountain, I use Earthquake to take down both the Matang and not quite the Quagsire, I guess. Out comes Scizor, Body Slam, paralyzes me. Okay, well unfortunately now I think I will lose, and that Silverwind actually does quite a bit of damage to me. Out comes Solrock. I go for Earthquake again to take down the Scizor because it's the bigger threat here, and yeah, that does a lot of damage. Out comes Castform, and unfortunately, first attempt, I lose, but maybe that was mainly due to paralysis. So while I'm down here, back on the main island, I go ahead and pick up the move Body Slam and teach it over Hidden Power, because Body Slam's going to be more reliable, and I like the idea of getting paralysis out sometimes. Anyway, I go for Earthquake just as I did before, which still doesn't take down the Quagsire. Out comes Scizor, and I go for Protect here just to heal up as much as I can before the next barrage of Silverwind. And still not quite a one-shot on the Scizor either. Out comes Solrock. Silverwind is doing about half my health right now, so I need to heal up as high as I can. And Ferdupep will start raining down because of Shadow Sky. And between the two, Scizor is still the bigger threat, so I decide to take it down. Out comes Castform. Shadow Rave really isn't actually doing that much damage at all. So I go for another Protect. Once I can stall out all the Shadow Skies, the Solrock will go for it again. So I could use that to my advantage to take down the Starmie in a single hit. Out comes the Starmie. Shadow Rave, still not doing too much damage, but I am getting fairly low. Go for another Protect here. And for some reason the Starmie's going for Shadow Mist. But I'm not going to risk it attacking this turn, so I take it down. And then I take down the Soul Rock. So that took a few attempts, but that's alright. Anyway, moving on to the trainer who I think I might struggle against the most so far, and that is Ardos. And that's because I think that if I get bad luck on the Swallow, I could take a ton of damage. And also the Swallow just using Shadow Break could do a lot of damage to me, but luckily I actually protect the turn it uses Shadow Half. And as you could see there, the Kingdra was actually going to use Ice Beam on me, so I need to take it down immediately, because it's definitely the bigger threat between the two. And then out comes Heracross. Now I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to take it down in a single hit, but another Shadow Half comes out. Okay, well thank you. That should guarantee I get a one-shot. I use Leaf Blade and take it down. Now, I should have maybe kept Hidden Power up until this fight, but that's alright. Anyway, I go for Earthquake this turn just to get rid of the Electabuzz. And I think the Swallow actually uses Shadow Half here, which does half Snorlax's health, which is really good. And I have to use Earthquake here because Snorlax is such a specially tanky Pokemon, and luckily it doesn't hit a Shadow End, so I'm able to take it down. And Swallow just goes for Shadow Mist, probably to raise the accuracy of Shadow End. So, I actually beat him first try. Okay, well we move on to Gorgon once again. And the same strategy that worked before works again. I use Leaf Blade to take down his first water type. Then I go for Earthquake to take down the Aggron. Don't think I needed that crit. And I don't quite take down the Ursaring, just as before. It actually gets a crit and does about half my health though. I go for Leaf Blade to take down the Walrein. And then at this point, I'm just going to use Earthquakes, because even though I could take down the Poliwrath in a single hit, there's no real reason to, because it's just going to set up Shadow Sky the first turn. And Shadow Sky really isn't threatening anymore, because I should be able to take them both down in a single Earthquake. Which I do. Okay, well, moving right along to Eldis. He leads with a Ninjask and a Manectric, and I go for Earthquake, take down the Manectric, and the Ninjask is actually going to use Silver Wind, doing a decent amount of damage. I go for Protect, and then I go for Body Slam into the Salamence to see how much it'll do. Oh. Oh, that's pitiful. Oh, I could see this one taking quite a while. Okay, well let's go for Leaf Blade to see how much that does, because it is 4 times resisted, but I also don't have an attack drop, and that also did nothing. So, here we are, on attempt number 11, and I'm now at level 79 because I decided to use my rare candies, and so I go for basically the same start as before, except I use Body Slam into the Ninjask instead of Salamence on the second turn, because between Ninjask and Flygon, Ninjask is definitely scarier, so I decide to take it down. And then out comes the Flygon. Now Flygon I know is a one-shot, and eventually, with a crit, I get rid of the Salamence. So it's still quite a few hits to take it down. And I decide to go for Leaf Blade to take down the Marowak, which I know would be a one-shot. And that's the thing about Leaf Blade, is even though the Grass type isn't all that great, a decent Grass type move is actually very helpful here, because I can take down all 3 of his last Pokemon with relative ease. It really was just the Salamence and the Ninjask causing issue here. But with that, we're still doing fairly well before we go into the Shadow Lugia fight. And yeah, Body Slam still isn't doing that much damage. So it looks like it's going to be about a 4-shot. Another Body Slam, taking it fairly low. Another Protect. One more Body Slam. And actually get the Paralysis here, that's quite nice. I'll be able to heal up a little more before the final fight. And I take down Lugia, which leads us to the final fight against Grovyle. Now he leads with a Moltres and a Rhydon. And I'm going to use Body Slam and do over half to the Moltres. Okay, that's really good, and it actually got paralyzed. And the Rhydon missed. Okay, well, I go for another Body Slam to take down the Moltres. Out comes Executor, who could be a real struggle to get rid of, but maybe it won't be too bad. I go for Protect here, Shadow End. Earthquake takes down the Rhydon and does a little bit of damage to Executor. So yeah, Executor might be a little difficult to actually get rid of, but for now, it's fine. Leaf Blade takes down the Tauros in a single hit. Out comes Articuno, who I also see as probably going to be a bit of a struggle to get rid of. Protect here, Shadow End. I go for Body Slam and get a critical hit and one-shot it. Okay. Out comes Zapdos. Shadow End gets a crit and takes me down. Okay, well that's kind of fair. And here's a montage of me losing this fight over and over and over again, all at different levels. And eventually I decide to go ahead and teach Double Edge over Earthquake, because honestly Earthquake isn't really that good of a move in this fight, and I don't have the attack power to actually use it correctly. So after a few more excruciating deaths to Grovyle, I end up at level 88. So, 8 levels higher and 26 attempts later, we end up with this fight, where I go for Leaf Blade into the Rhydon first, and that's because Moltres, even though it's bad, it at least doesn't do that much damage when it actually hits, so I can heal off most of its damage anyway. And then I go for Body Slam to take it down. And then out comes Tauros, which I know is a one-shot. Shadow End misses. I take down the Tauros, and then out comes Articuno. And at this point, as you saw, I taught Double Edge, and Double Edge is a two-shot into Articuno. So I go ahead and use it. Shadow Chill. Shadow End hits, taking me down to about half, but honestly, I got some pretty good luck from the Shadow End so far, so that's warranted. And I do something that I don't normally do, and that's bring out both of the legendary birds. And that's because I have a higher special defense than I do physical defense, so I can actually take the attacks from these two a little better than a Shadow End. And I'm not quite able to one-shot the Zapdos with a Leaf Blade, but I get fairly close. One more Protect, and I'm able to take down the Zapdos. And then it's just Articuno left, as long as I don't get frozen. And I don't. And one last Protect, just in case. And I take it down. And that's Sceptile, beating the game. And, yeah, well, let's just go over its stats real quick. It finished the game at 11 hours, 48 minutes, and 42 seconds at level 88, and fainted 54 times. Now, a majority of those are to Grovyle, 25 of those. So, honestly, it's not too bad. And here's the thing, I think that Sceptile was honestly on the right road to becoming an A-tier Pokemon. So still not as good as its other Hoenn contemporaries, but still pretty good. And that's because of Eldis and Grovyle. They have a lot of Pokemon that just simply resist the Grass type very well. Specifically the Salamence in Eldis' team. That thing took so many levels to even 3-shot, and I ended up needing a crit to actually take it down by the end. And then there's Grovyle himself, who has 3 flying types, one of them being Fire Flying, so 4 times resist my Grass type moves. The Executor is resistant to my Grass type moves, and Tauros and Rhydon do a ton of damage if they're actually able to attack. So it was a real struggle. But anyway, unfortunately, it does make it to the bottom of the B tier because of those last 2 fights, but it was so close to being an A tier Pokemon. It just sucks that those last 2 fights took a lot out of it. But with that, it is currently the best rated Grass type. That is one thing. Grass types are really bad, so actually being a good Grass type is kind of respectable, honestly. I unfortunately wish it would have done better at those final 2 bosses, but overall, I think in terms of the typing itself and how many Pokemon actually struggle being Grass type, it was pretty good to see it do fairly well throughout the entire game up until that point. But anyway, that should be just about it for this series. So if you liked the video, consider liking, subscribing, and put down Pokemon suggestions. Halloween, spooky month. Bye.